Welcome to the latest episode of Authenticated with your host, Kate McLeod. I am intrigued by people. People watching, I love. People learning, that's where I'm insatiably curious. I'm interested in the why and how of the creative mind's pattern of thinking, the subtext to the creative thinker, or in its more conscious and malleable form, the creative conscious. Because when you are so clear on yourself via the triad of consciousnesses, then you become reflective to others. Meeting yourself is an infectious practice because what feels good is infectious and something I think we could all use a good dose of. So join me in conversations with a diverse arsenal of creative thinkers, from artists to entrepreneurs to serial thinkers ready to optimize their creative conscious. With me, self-made and self-proclaimed creative entrepreneur. Sounds hot, right? Hello, and welcome to the first and the introductory episode of Authenticated with me, Kate McLeod. I am beyond thrilled that you're here, and I am grateful that we get to be in this audio parasocial relationship space together. I hope that you're here for a long time, a good time, and an expansive time as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I've had this podcast idea on simmer for the better part of this last year, and I'm going to offer you the context to the journey that has been my Authenticated podcast movement, because when it comes to authenticity, context is crucial. And with that being true, it is also important that I share my own context with you too. So as you heard in my intro, I am a self-made and self-proclaimed creative entrepreneur. And you probably haven't heard of that title before. And that's because I made that term up entirely to attempt encompassing and boxifying a digestible definition to offer others when they ask me who I am and what I do. But the real truth is, I'm Kate McLeod, and that's what fully captures who I am and what I do. I am me, and I do me. I am myself, and made through my never-ending search of self, creatively, authentically, strategically, and intelligently. I'm an artist. I entered the creative space as an actor, which I've wanted to be for as long as I can remember, having thoughts of once or felt an understanding of the concept of just passion. Acting was my true first passion and my first dire want to be in the world. The phrase want to be is really important here, so hold on to that one. I entered the creative industry professionally as an actor 12 years ago. And along that journey from then to now, I've grown out into a writer, a producer. I started my own production company, 62 Productions. And whilst I was doing all that, my curiosity also led me to expand into the space of a creative consultant. Through the lens of my creative consulting practice, I noticed that the most successful clients and artists were the most authentic ones, the ones who had confidence behind their own patterns of thinking and their own creative intuition. So at the beginning of this year, I decided that I was going to start a podcast. I was going to interview artists on the podcast. The podcast was going to be called Authenticated, and all of the artists I was in conversation with on the platform were going to share what it meant to them to have authenticity at the forefront of their artistry. And I was not only going to have them share that on the platform, but I was going to navigate with them from the position of a creative consultant where that authenticity came from, how their superpower as an authentic artist came to be, and how they were going to make the world a better place with it. All with the underlying mission of offering authentic examples to other artists and to creative thinkers wanting to optimize their creative thinking in the process of defining their own creativity and creative selves. I do this, I buy the equipment, the software, I capture the first 5 episodes with artists I admire, I respect, and I want to amplify. I edit the episodes, I get all the logistics and whatnot in working order, and then I sit on the episodes. I don't release them. And in true form to who I am, I sit in the discomfort and I ask myself why I'm doing that. And I realize that it's because the first hunch of the podcast was just the first step to something else that I was onto, something else in my subconscious self that was figuring itself out until I sifted and surfaced it into my conscious self. What I was actually doing was I was actually following the first thread within all of this and within the artists I was talking to search for something a lot bigger. I was looking for a way to share the formula of what I have now spent the entire of this year initially defining. And that is what I have trademarked as the creative conscious. Now, I know that I'm not the first one to use that phrase, but I do know that I'm the first one to build out the concept into a self-prompting curriculum for people to use to define their own creative conscious and to gain confidence behind it and to prompt them to lead themselves to realizing that they are their own answer And their creative conscious is how they can streamline that effort. All this led me to today, where I have assembled an innovative team and a creative idea I am unquantifiably proud of. And that creative idea is Me3, a space for the self-defining creative thinker. It is a virtual space that goes live at the beginning of early January, and it is a program designed to build the confidence behind creative thinking and action by way of bringing individual awareness to your own patterns of thinking, identifying your own evidence, curating your thought patterns to best suit yourself, all by the way of what you define for yourself, which is your creative conscious. So as aforementioned, context is a massive theme for me. It is also a massive theme in Me3 and the foundational gateway into your creative conscious. Because as I shared in the earlier sentiments of my younger self wanting to be, when it comes to the more malleable form of creative awareness, where in that world of yourself do you ever need someone else's permission or validation? Because to me, that sounds like misdirected energy that would be better utilized, redirected at yourself, doubling down on your own belief in yourself, giving yourself your own permission and your own validation. The practice within Me3's offering is, why not habitually facilitate that for ourselves? Why not create your own definition of what evidence looks like for yourself? Why not use that evidence to back up your own thoughts and your own patterns of thinking? The creative conscious, it's unique to every single individual practicing it, just like your subconscious and your conscious. The triad of these consciouses could never be matched or emulated or cloned or be alike to anyone else's because the human experience is just too hyper-specific for it ever to be similar to anyone else's. The creative conscious has to be one that you decide that you believe you are the driver of. And guess what? You are. So a lot in this space is going to be my offering of prompting you to build that evidence to realize that for yourself. That's how authenticity is found. That's how you curate and optimize a self-serving creative conscious. That's how you shift the lens to your best benefit, which is believing that you are your own answer. I don't want to be anyone else's answer. Because you have to have the confidence behind your own patterns of thinking, your creative conscious, by leveraging your subconscious and your conscious so that you can develop your creative conscious in a way that is best suited for yourself. A creative conscious is what we have more ownership over because we get to define it and we get to curate it to best suit ourselves so that you are in touch with yourself as much as possible so that you can guide yourself into the career, into the life, into the patterns of creative thinking that are best suited for yourself and make you feel the best. As I say in my intro, what feels good is infectious. And that's the kind of world that I'm interested in living in. And that's the kind of offering that I'm interested in offering other people so I can participate in a community that is self-reflective of every single person as well as myself. So with all of that being said, I am going to rapid release our first 5 episodes this week after this first initial introductory episode. It is important to me to share these sentiments with you first because these first 5 episodes with these incredible artists were recorded under the guise of seeking out what it means to lead with authenticity in artistry. They were instrumental in my path to discovering the bigger picture of what I was sitting on, and they were captured under a slightly different umbrella of understanding than the rest of the Authenticated podcast will be. And I want to honor that and the expectations of what I initially offered these fabulous humans to be in conversation with me. Honestly, it is so funny and endearing to me to listen to these episodes back after the evolution of my own creative conscious between then and now, because I have the gift of wonderful conversation with amazing artists I love, but also because witnessing little Kate have literally zero clue what she's sitting on and figuring out brings me the utmost joy in real time. It is the best example of evidence of my own evolution, true proof of concept of the gift I want to offer the world. And by the way, little Kate to me is what I call any Kate who is the Kate that exists in time before the Kate that I am now. Because as I practice myself and offer clients, friends, artists, we're in a constant evolution of expansion. And so little Kate to me is anyone who is smaller than I am before now, because we are meant to grow out and take up space and be big as we further discover our artistry in the world. And also as we continue to meet ourselves as humans in the world. So these episodes and little Kate bring me so much joy today because I'm so proud of her for her following her hunch and having these conversations with people that she admires, respects, and is in community with because she's built them into her network and built out her network to include these kinds of artists. So after these quick releases this week, then the Authenticated podcast episode release will come at a more like weekly publishing pace. The episodes from there on out will be the evolutional journey of my insatiable curiosity of the creative conscious through solo episodes of related themes I'll discover along the way and creative conversations with creative thinkers within the world. So entrepreneurs, artists of various mediums, creative thinkers who want to optimize their thinking, my indulgences in guiding others to self-illuminating their own patterns of thinking within their own sector of neurological genius, etc. We will cover all of these progressive conversations, so much more, and share in real time the evolution of Me3. This podcast will always act as a free resource to serve those interested in Me3 and an additional resource to those in the community self-honing their own creative intuition and strengthening their control and confidence behind it, needing to just have additional conversations outside of the practice that we have within Me3 to maintain their own personal practice that they are self-defining in the community. So wrapping this up, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I'm beyond excited that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're here. I think it's really good that you're here. And I also believe that the world offers us what I call universal winks. And universal winks are basically just your frequency meeting the energy and the frequency of the universe around you. That the universe tells you that you're on the right path, that you're doing the right thing, and everything that you are intending to come to fruition is going to come to fruition. So take this as a universal wink. Take this moment as a universal wink that we are in this space together and have both arrived here. I'm so happy that you're here. I can't wait for this journey of Me3. I'm so excited. The ad campaign and open cart for Me3 will start in December, and I'll be going fully live and functioning in full swing in early January. I'm excited to offer myself as an example as a creative in the world and as a creative in the networking space so that people can figure out how they are going to do that for themselves. Everyone's going to be self-sufficient. Everyone's going to be their own creative genius that makes this world a better place. And I'm just so fucking happy that we're all here together. We need this right now. And I'm ready to dive headfirst and forge a pathway so that everyone after can do the exact same. Leading by example has always been a very, very important part of who I am in the world. And I'm excited to be doing that with you right now in real time. So stay tuned. In the show notes, I have all the social media linkage that you could possibly need to stay in touch with what it is that we're doing here. And so with that, welcome to the Authenticated podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. And that's the latest. I'm honored to have been part of your thinking sphere today. Feel free to share, like, and subscribe on this platform or follow and participate on any of my social media platforms. If this practice intrigues you as much as it does me, then join us in the Me3 community, where we will work directly and you will curate a mindful method of thinking to define your own creative conscious. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Authenticated. I love that you're here.